I, 32 female, am from a small, tight-knit family. There is my family of 4. My parents, my grandmother, my aunt and uncle, their 2 kids and their families. We all live in the same area and will do whatever we can to help each other. My cousin Derek, 28 male, tragically passed away a year and a half ago from an intoxicated driver. He left behind his wife Monica, 27, and 4 kids, all under 8. It was devastating and Monica completely shut down. We all understood and started caring for her and the kids. This included me no longer charging her rent. They lived in a house I own next door to me, helping prepare meals, taking care of the kids, helping with appointments, schoolwork, shopping, etc. I can't tell you how many times I was her shoulder to cry on. She let me put the kids in therapy but refused to go herself. On to the now issue. As I said, it's been a year and a half and she's still completely shut down. She doesn't work or cook or clean, and I've been raising the kids along with my 2. This isn't sustainable. The kids miss her. They lost their mom the day they lost their dad. I sat her down the other night and tried to be empathetic towards her, but nothing was getting through. She just kept crying and saying she couldn't do it without Derek. I told her she didn't have a choice. She has 4 kids who need their mother. She still wasn't listening, but I'd had enough. I told her she had a week to get an appointment with a therapist before I stopped supporting her emotionally and financially and went to court for full custody of the kids. She ran out crying. The rest of our family thinks I'm being cruel because she loved my cousin deeply, but I think this is what she needs. She can't live like this and can't keep putting her kids through this. Everyone has been pitching in, helping around her house, and babysitting when I need a sitter for her kids. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You're right about her needing a therapist and being there for her kids. You've given it a year and a half, and while there is no time limit on grief, she needs a reality check. You've not said anything crazy. Just go and see a therapist at least. You've already tried that and it didn't work. You gave it time, but now's the time for an ultimatum. Her kids need her now. I don't think this even counts as OP trying to put a timeline on Monica's grief. Why does she need a sitter? Does she work? Or does she just live her days crying, leaving you guys to take care of her kids? I get that she lost her husband, but she didn't lose a brain. She should know her kids need her. As cruel as it sounds, she is being selfish. Grieving is necessary, but ultimately is just self-serving. It won't miraculously bring her husband back. What she's doing is the same as abandonment, and basically shows she cares more about herself than her kids. I mean, what are her plans? Just to be a wreck for the rest of her life and have everyone else support her and take care of her and all her bills and her kids? I mean, it has to end sometime. I hope she gets the help she needs. Otherwise, you do what you have to do to take care of those kids. And I would get her out of your house if you get full custody of those kids, and she can go live with other relatives who can take care of her if they think you're being mean. Yep, and the rest of the family needs to understand how much it's affecting OP and the kids financially. Since it's a tight-knit family and they disagree with your approach, they can all step up, take care of the 4 kids and start paying her rent. I mean, they don't want to be idiots, do they? It's easy to call you an idiot when you do everything. What occurred is very sad, but nearly 2 years later it's not rushing this. Tough love is tough. But this situation is not your fault, and she's not helping but sticking her head in the sand. Good luck to you and the children, and ultimately your sister-in-law. I, 20 female, married my husband 2 years ago. We aren't rich and don't care that much about weddings, so I wore my prom dress to my wedding. It's not a super fancy dress or anything. It's basically a long sequin dress in deep dark blue with one sleeve. My friend Ciara, 22 female, was attending my wedding. Since the wedding, I've worn it on a few occasions because it's the only fancy dress I own. Recently, Ciara was getting married and I was obviously invited. The wedding color scheme was dark blue and she requested fancy attire, so I thought my dark blue dress would be fine. It's not white and it's not even remotely close to a wedding dress. Also, I didn't feel like wasting money on another fancy dress I would never wear again, especially since we aren't rich. So I showed up at her wedding in my dark blue sequin dress. It wasn't standing out or anything. Most of the guests were wearing even fancier dresses. However, when Ciara saw me, she lost it. She yelled at me in front of all the guests, in front of her husband and my husband, saying that what I did was horrible and that no one shows up at a wedding in a wedding dress. I tried to reason with her, saying that the dress wasn't a wedding dress, it was the only fancy piece of clothing I owned. I wore it on multiple occasions before and after my wedding. She didn't listen and kept yelling at me to the point that a bridesmaid and her husband tried calming her down. She also said a bunch of unsavory names to me. I was very upset with the drama and decided to leave with my husband. Then I started getting texts from Ciara who blamed me for upstaging her on her wedding day for driving a wedge between her and her husband, since he said she overreacted massively and upset her friend over a dress. I decided to ignore them because I thought she was being unreasonable, but a part of me thought that I was an idiot because I wore the dress to my own wedding. This is your fancy occasion dress that you wore to prom and multiple other events and just happened to wear to your wedding. It's not a wedding dress, and Ciara manufactured a conflict where no one would have ever been the wiser. You didn't drive a wedge between her and her husband. She did it by acting ridiculously. Not the idiot, and Girlie's husband is right. She needs to get a grip. Ciara has a different problem with OP and deliberately manufactured a situation. She specifically picked dark blue and fancy. She knew OP wore that dress multiple times. I would think there was a close to zero chance that she thought OP would go out and get a different dress. I think Ciara is a drama llama. Yep, it's a setup. The fact that the groom stuck up for OP makes me think the bride is jealous. This has come up before between them and she wanted to embarrass OP at her wedding. I suspect she lost you as a friend and her husband is likely to lawyer up soon. She sounds like she'd be a nightmare to live with. Take comfort in knowing that she ruined her own wedding. The only thing anyone's going to remember about her blue-themed wedding forever is that she had a gigantic meltdown over a blue dress and acted like an idiot. That's on her. I'm so curious to know what the other guests were thinking as they watched a yellow OP for wearing a blue dress to a wedding with blue as the color theme. LOL. That must have looked unhinged to them. I'd be so confused if I saw a bride screaming at a guest for following the requested dress code. Block Ciara's number and get that lunatic out of your life. I'm 35 male, a medical doctor working as an internal medicine hospitalist at a major hospital. Recently, I was on a long-haul international flight. Usually I sleep on flights, but this was during my waking hours, so I decided to spend my time enjoying the in-flight entertainment and free drinks. I'd already been drinking even before the flight while in the lounge. I wasn't slurring or excessively intoxicated, but I was feeling a solid buzz. Usually I don't chat with my co-passengers, I just sleep or do my own thing. On this flight, the configuration of the business class cabin was such that the passengers in the middle row were practically just beside each other. There was just a small barrier separating me and my co-passenger, female mid-30s, that could be raised, but it still didn't do that much to separate us. She started up a conversation, and being a little intoxicated, I was also feeling chatty. When she asked what I do, I mentioned I'm a doctor, and I work at such and such hospital. After some more small talk, we both started doing our own thing. I was trying to watch my movie and enjoy my drinks when an announcement was made asking if there was a doctor on the flight. Normally, I would present myself to the cabin crew and help out, but after several hours of on-flight boozing, I was pretty intoxicated. I wasn't able to think clearly and probably would have done more harm than good in such a situation. I didn't react to the announcement at all. I continued watching my movie and drinking my drink. My co-passenger tapped me and said that they just announced they needed a doctor. I replied that someone else would help or they would get instructions from the medical team on the ground. She tried convincing me to help, but I refused. She then said I was an unbelievable idiot and that if the passenger died, it was my fault. I said, "Listen, lady, just because I'm a doctor doesn't mean I'm on call 24/7 to provide medical care on demand. I work when I'm at the hospital. Outside, I'm just like everyone else and I'm entitled to drink and relax." She had a disgusted look on her face but didn't talk to me after that. I didn't want to engage with her either. I'm not sure what happened to the passenger who needed medical assistance, but since I didn't hear any more announcements, I assumed all was well. While exiting the aircraft, this lady called me an idiot again. In my mind, I'm very clear that since I was intoxicated, I couldn't provide medical assistance. I was drinking on my own time, and there was no expectation that I would need to be sober. Doctors get to enjoy life too. I can't stay sober on every flight just in case there's an emergency. I don't think I'm wrong, but I thought I'd get external opinions. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The crew would not have used you in your capacity as a doctor as you were intoxicated. By law, they cannot, as you are well aware. They would have gotten assistance from another sober doctor on board and the ground medical team. Your fellow passenger is an idiot for saying those things to you. Hopefully, after the flight, she learned that it couldn't have helped because you were drinking. You are the idiot for your unnecessarily rude attitude. A simple "I'm too intoxicated" would have sufficed. Why did you not just tell your co-passenger that? How you describe it, you appeared not to want to help, which comes across as cold and callous. In her situation, I would have thought you a huge idiot, and you really did nothing to let you know you weren't. Disagree. I don't get why OP would owe anyone an explanation for not intervening. It's as if people expect healthcare workers to respond to every emergency in their daily lives. They're regular people too. You could have done more damage by being intoxicated and trying to play the hero than just keeping quiet. You were right not to volunteer. I'm a female teen and my birthday is in 3 days. I was a twin. My brother died hours after birth. He was 5 minutes older than me. I was told my mother went into a deep depression, but with help got better over time. I've watched videos of my birthdays from 1 to 6 years old, and I started sharing my birthday with my brother on my first birthday. There's always that 5 minutes of remembrance in honor of him, and instead of having one candle on my cake, there will be an extra or extras for him. For example, if I was 1 year old, there would be one for him, or if I was 2, they would add another 2, and so on. As a kid, I didn't really understand or mind because I got to blow out extra candles. When I was 8, I did question it, and they told me it was in remembrance of my brother since we shared the same birthday. This carried on until my last birthday, when I didn't get to celebrate because I ended up in the hospital. My grandpa showed up at the hospital while I was recovering with a gift and wished me and only me a happy birthday. After he left, I realized that I loved that he only acknowledged me. I realized I didn't want to keep sharing my birthday with my brother, but then I felt guilty. I did try to speak to my parents about me. It was just me celebrating my birthday this year, but I was brushed off. Now we come to what happened 4 days ago. My grandpa, who's the official cake maker in my family, asked what type of cake I wanted. I told him and added firmly that I only wanted the number of candles for me. My parents were in the next room, and they immediately came in demanding to know what I was doing. I should have known that the other candles were for my brother, and I ended up crying and told them that he wasn't even here and I was. I can't remember everything that was said, but there was a lot of shouting between my parents and me, and Grandpa and I were told that I was selfish and needed to stop being self-centered. Grandpa left with me. I've been at his house since the big fight. I've been crying a lot and Grandpa has been here for me, but I feel so guilty and need to ask. Am I the idiot? Oh, honey, no, not the idiot. You are not the one who's being selfish here. Your parents absolutely are, and this is not healthy. Your parents need to find another way to grieve their lost child. Your birthday should be your celebration, not their occasion to memorialize their grief. They need to be able to celebrate you, their living child, and find another way to memorialize your brother in a different way. Yes, my friends lost one of their twins at birth. The living child gets a normal birthday celebration. Mom and Dad blow out the candle on the cupcake for the child they lost at night after they put their little one to bed. Without putting points to this, they can celebrate hopefully into what they feel they need to mourn their loss, but it does not need to be at the same time. What will they do at your graduation? Your wedding? They need therapy, and I'm glad your grandfather has given you a safe space. Parents need a wake-up call because this behavior is going to lead to both of their twins being dead to you. One physically, one no contact by choice. This happened last week, but I still feel very weird about it. I, 40 male, have a teen daughter, Lucy, who has a friend, Brit, teen female. Brit has been friends with Lucy for years and has been to our house countless times, but recently she's been starting to act out in different ways. She used to be such a nice girl, but she can be quite sarcastic and mean these days. We recently got a new carpet in our house, and my wife made a rule that no one can wear shoes in the house. Brit came over last week, and as she was coming in, I asked her to take off her shoes. She answered by saying, "Why, do you have a thing for feet or something?" Which I just thought was a bizarre and inappropriate response. And also, I don't, but even if I did, what would that have to do with anything? I said no, it's just that we got this new carpet, and we didn't want it to get dirty. I thought I heard her say your dad is so weird as they were going up the stairs. Later, when they came down for some food, Brit was wearing some bright pink socks that I assume were Lucy's, as she wasn't wearing any socks when she went upstairs. They caught my eye and she saw me glance down at them and she said to Lucy, "See, I knew I should cover them up." Which, to be fair, Lucy replied something like, "Oh crap up, Brit, stop being dramatic." Anyway, I was feeling uncomfortable, so I just said, "Brit, please can you go home now?" She just laughed and said I'm going soon anyway, and I said, "No, I want you to leave now, please." She got her stuff and left. After that, Lucy was mad at me. She said the Brit was only joking and I completely overreacted.